Everything that happens to us isn't good or bad. It just is.
Mhm.
It's how you perceive it that makes it good or bad. Everything that happens is basically neutral. It is your ability to perceive it that will determine if it is a positive or a negative in your
Right.
life. In your genetic code, you have tremendous amounts of unexpressed potential that will never get expressed unless you put yourself into situations where you have to figure it out. And you will figure it out. It's like jumping off a cliff and you'll figure out how to fly. When you fail and you fall down, you're learning, right? I mean, it was an obstacle put in the way to make you what you need to be in order to get to where you want to go.
Freedom doesn't happen by accident. It's built. Welcome to Freedom by Design, where we explore what it really takes to create more freedom in your life, your business, and your relationships. We're Josh and Paula Kirpin, and this is intentional living done right.
Welcome back. We're going to talk about perfectionism in life and business today. And again, I think that this is I always get a smirk from Josh when I have the topic. I don't give it much warning, so this is usually all just off of the cuff.
This will not be perfect. It will not be perfect.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Don't worry about it.
Well, we'll decide that
Okay.
20 minutes from now.
I know that this is something that all of my type A friends out there struggle with, and people who have this expectation that they place on themselves that they need to be perfect. Their house needs to look perfect. Their business needs to be perfect. Their social media needs to be perfect. All of the things in life have to be just so. And if they're not, or they fall a little bit short, they feel bad, feel guilty, just like our last episode, we talked about that. But I want to talk to you a little bit about perfectionism and the concept of people needing to feel like things are perfect or all lined up for them to even take action. It has to be perfect before they take the step. So I want to ask you this question to start off with. Why do so many capable people still feel like what they do is never quite good enough?
So, I mean, there is a lot to unpack here. And we're basically reverting back to the conversation that we had on the last episode about guilt, because it's all about expectations.
Mhm.
Who defines perfect?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as perfect. So that it's sort of a fallacy. And when you are falling short of perfection, you're going to feel guilt because it's some sort of expectation that's out there that probably isn't something that you made up. Why do people that are very capable still feel, no matter how good a job they do, still feel like it's not good enough?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I would really have to think about that a little bit more. I'm not sure how to answer that. I think that they just don't have a goal that they've set that is an expectation that they have set. It's probably out of fear. That idea will be rooted in something much deeper. So I would need some more context to that question. Like, is it stopping them from taking action? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people, and it probably goes back to a paradigm that they have or that was like put into their subconscious when they were
Everything.
younger, that they needed to have perfect grades so that they could do, go to the movies, or they needed to get into the best university, or else it was considered to be a bit of a failure or whatever. And so we have these paradigms that have been put in our subconscious where we need to be perfect. And so a lot of people who have that persona or have those paradigms, they feel like they need to have all their ducks in a row before they even take a step.
Two sides to this, right? There's good and there's bad to perfectionism.
Yes.
Because you always want to be getting better
Mm-hmm.
at what it is that you do, at your craft or at something new or whatever it is. So you always want to be finding new ways to iterate and create something new. But if that perfectionism idea scares you from taking action, then obviously it's paralyzing and it's a disaster. It all comes back to some idea that you have accepted. Most likely it's unconsciously accepted from when you're very young, right? Our school system in particular teaches us that getting things wrong is bad. Okay, so a red X is bad. And you go through a unit in school, you learn the unit, you get some homework, you have the test, you take the test, and whatever mark you get on it, you get on it. And that tells you how good you were at that. And there isn't even really a review to learn what you maybe didn't know, right? I mean, that's the whole beauty of failure, is learning from it. Failure is just feedback that you're not quite good enough at this yet. Go learn from it if you want to. If it's something you want. I mean, in school, we have to learn all sorts of things we're not interested in, and we probably shouldn't have to worry about learning about, but that's another conversation for another time. But I think that idea, that limiting side of perfectionism is probably born out of our school system and the way that we're raised growing up. And red X is bad, and you can't fix it. And there's
Mhm.
nothing really good that comes of it. Like what good comes out of getting a bad mark in school? Nothing.
Yeah, well, I think the perfectionism piece probably stems back to the school system, like being in grade school, because the people who got the best grades and were at the top of the class and those high achievers were rewarded in all sorts of areas, right? Like they were the kids that everybody looked up to, or the teachers loved, or the teacher's pet, whatever. And then they get out into the real world and in a little bit bigger of a sample size, and they all of a sudden feel like they go to university and they get a 62 on their chemistry test or whatever, but not speaking from experience or anything, but had great great grades in school. Go to university is a totally different deal, right? I never really learned how to learn. I just memorized and regurgitated, so I got the
Yeah.
marks, right?
Yeah.
So it's back to that thought of, in school, I always thought that my type A personality, like how much time I spent on working and like how neat and tidy my homework was, everything, that was a strength. And so now I'm realizing that perfectionism, or striving to be perfect, because like you said, I don't think that you can ever hit that bar because you're trying to get better every single day. Like, what does it actually mean to be perfect? I don't think that exists. I think that it's actually holding people back from experiencing real greatness in their life because they have that label on themselves, and it's not, they don't feel like they're living up to that
Yeah. So
standard.
the concept, Dan Sullivan has this concept of the gap and the gain, and him and Ben Hardy wrote a really cool book on it. And that's largely what it is about, is there's always going to be this gap between where you are and where you want to get to. The closer you get, the further the target moves away. Like it's the horizon. You never get
Hmm.
to the horizon. And the gain is looking back, measuring yourself back from where you came from.
Right.
So perfectionists are always looking ahead, never looking back. They're always looking ahead, and that horizon is always moving further and further away. Well, it's good to keep chasing, to keep moving towards something. It's not only good, it's necessary.
Right.
But you have to look back and measure yourself against how far you've come.
Mm.
And a lot of how far you've come is failure and learning, like failing forward towards your goal. If you look at failure as something that's a negative, then you're just going to stop moving, and you'll
Mhm.
stop looking around, period. You just kind of go into a shell. It's like it's a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
If it's looked at as bad, you'll get ostracized from the tribe, and you can potentially die. Basically all of our fears come down to ultimately a
Mhm.
fear of death. We've got really good survival instincts trying to keep us alive.
Mm.
But if we look at failure as bad, it's just paralyzing to you. And that's not the way that it should be. Failure is feedback and how to learn.
Well, I think maybe, like you said, when you spoke to school, not really actually going over what your wrong answers were, you know, we have never really learned to embrace the failure in a lot of areas of life, right? Like you just fail and then you're like, oh, I'm not very good at that. I better quit. Because if I learn from this and then I fail again, it's just, I'm going to look bad, or I'm going to, not live up to societal standards or my own standards or expectations, whatever. But that is really the true gift in striving towards a goal, is failing forward, like that concept of just continuing on after you try something and it doesn't work. It's never going to look the way that you think it's going to look. And I think with the gap and the gain theory, people are often really scared to look backwards because, like, you don't want to spend too much time in either spot, but I think it's really important to see how far you've come and to maybe really pinpoint those certain failures or times you attempted something and didn't maybe work out the way that you thought. But did it open up another opportunity for you to go in a little bit of a different path?
Do you look back at the things that happened in your life? If you could put a little ribbon on everything that happens in your life that you think is a disaster at the time, and then go back and look at those things 10 years down the road, I guarantee you something great came out of
Mhm.
every single one of those things. It might have taken the worse your attitude was towards that setback, the
Yeah.
longer it will have taken for something good to come out of it, but something good will have come out of all of those things.
Mhm.
It's like this, we've talked about it before, the Garth Brooks song, Unanswered Prayers, right? You look at your unanswered prayers and you think that it's a disaster, nobody's listening to me, but really it's just sending you in the direction that you need to go. When you fail and you fall down, you're just you're learning, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it was an obstacle put in the way to make you what you need to be in order to get to where you want to go. It is a gift. Failure is a gift. And if you can look at it that way, I mean, mindset is everything, right? And I love baseball because it teaches you to deal with failure. And I I'm still not very good at it. I had I would say a bad paradigm when I was younger. For whatever reason, I mean, I haven't dove deep enough into it to figure it out exactly, but I didn't like failing. I have adopted it and changed that to a pretty significant degree, but I can still feel it inside me. But I really have had to change the way that I look at it because, like, our boys love baseball. And baseball is a game of failure. If you don't learn how to handle failure really well, baseball will be miserable for you. Hall of Famers, the best in the world, fail 70% of the time, right? So there's no better way to learn to deal with failure than baseball. So I had to show them what it looks like. Because you can tell your kids anything. They aren't going to listen to you. They're going to do whatever you say. So show them what it looks like to deal with failure and fail forward, and they'll learn those lessons and take them and put them in their lives.
Well, it's hard to, like, we watch a tremendous amount of baseball, obviously, because we love it. But you see on the highlight reels is like the big hits, the grand slams, the home runs, whatever. But you don't see all the times those hitters struck out or whatever, right? So, I mean, if a 350 batting average over your career gets you into the Hall of Fame, like you said, that's failing 70% of the times that they go to the plate. So to be able to have that, to compare and to show our kids, like, you are going to have to fail a tremendous amount of times, but you can't get to where you want to go if you don't try, if you don't actually take the action. And I think that's where perfectionists get stuck, is that they think everything has to be perfect in a row in order to be able to take one step of action. And if you don't take any steps at all or move forward in any way, you're not going to be able to experience any sort of growth, right?
No,
failure or success.
I don't look at it as accepting failure or trying. I look at it as embracing failure.
Yeah.
Like, seek it out.
Yeah.
Right? You want to go and do something, you're never going to get it on the first shot because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you didn't aim high enough. Like, that's just all there is to it. So seek failure out.
Yeah.
We can go back to baseball. If you're playing in a league where you're batting 800, right, and you go out the odd time because the wind blows the wrong way, you're not getting pushed. You're not getting any better. You need to seek somewhere where you're failing at least 70% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So seek failure.
If you've been listening to this podcast, you already know something. You're built for more. The 100X Breakthrough Program is built for leaders, business owners, and growth-driven individuals who are ready to stop playing at the edge of their potential and start operating at a completely different level. If you know you're capable of more, but you're still stuck, this is your next step. Let's schedule an instant impact coaching session and see if the 100X Breakthrough Program is the right fit for you. Go to kznsolutions.ca. That's kznsolutions.ca.
Can you think of any example, like, just in our farm, we've almost had it for 20 years.
Yeah.
This will be our 18th or 19th crop. Can't remember. Anyways, but can you think of any sort of, experience of failure in the farming business when we started that now you look back on and are grateful for that, like, learning experience? There's probably
all the time, like, so many. So it's ironic that you asked this question, because I was in a meeting with a peer group here last summer, and my comment was that I felt like I wasn't a very successful business person because I'd never had the big failure. Like, you hear the stories of the people that are tremendously successful, and they've lost a business here, or 2 or 3 or 5, and then they rebuild from the ashes, and it's a wonderful story, right? And I was like, I started the farm, and away we went, and I've never had that huge failure. And it took me about 2 days for it to click in. I was like, I fail all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I just don't have a place that registers failure in my brain. It goes right into the learning category of my brain, and I just try and extract something from it. They hurt, like they're emotional still when you get those big expensive gut punches or whatever, but you go over them pretty quickly and try and program myself really to try and learn from them.
I love that, because I think that it's just the way that we interpret that thought, right? Like, you can accept or reject whatever thought you want, and you can view it in a lens that is beneficial to your mindset or harbors against your mindset. And I think that, being able to just embrace the failure and, like you said, not almost expect it, but just be ready for it and use it towards learning and moving into the direction that you want to go, right?
Yeah, and you don't want to expect failure. That's like, I want to be clear on that. You want to expect success, but you want to be prepared for failure. You want to be seeking it in the way that you are pushing yourself to where there's no choice but you're going to fail, right? When you're working out and you're doing a set of 10 reps, right, of any exercise, it is not the 9 reps that build the muscle. It's the 10th rep that you can't fully complete. It's the one that goes to failure that builds the muscle.
Right.
That's like a microcosm of what failure can do in your life. You have to push yourself beyond your limits to where you fail, and then you will grow. You have, in your genetic code, you have tremendous amounts of unexpressed potential that will never get expressed unless you put yourself into situations where you have to figure it out. And you will figure it out. It's like jumping off a cliff and you'll figure out how to fly. Well, I don't know that I would necessarily go that far, right? But metaphorically, you can jump off a cliff and you will learn how to fly. If you don't know how to host a podcast, you just do it, put it out there, and you'll figure it out, right? But there's so much unexpressed genetic potential inside you, and it will only ever come out if you put yourself in those situations to be stretched. And those situations will feel like failure. It is not, it's growth.
There's just so much value in those experiences. And you don't know what that value is until you actually take the action to do it. But it's there, and it just contributes to your personal growth so greatly. And as parents, I always continue to go back to being able to push yourself out of your comfort zone and take action into pursuit of your worthy ideal, and what that does to your kids, because they won't always listen to what you say, but they're going to do what you do. So if you take the action and you're moving in that trajectory and moving towards that goal, they're going to see you do that, and they're going to see you push yourself, and they're going to do the same thing. And I just always think the earlier that you can teach your kids that, the better off they will be, because they're going to start implementing that into their life right away. And we've seen that with our kids lots.
Yeah. I had a point that I was going to make about, perceiving failure, I suppose. And there have been times for sure when I have had failures, and the most frustrating times are when I can't find something to learn about them. And I mean, I will actively try and find something to learn. Now, I'm probably in those situations trying too hard to learn the lesson, to find the lesson. Sometimes you have to stop actively thinking and passively think. Just let your subconscious mind find the lesson for you. But in those situations where I cannot find the lesson to be learned, I can't consciously pull it out of there, at the very least, it's teaching me resiliency. Right. And if I could take that little red flag and put it on that experience and look back on it 5 years down the road, I would at least know that I would be able to survive that. Right?
Yeah.
And so you are so far in your life, if you're listening to this podcast, you are so far undefeated. There's been nothing that has taken you out. You're undefeated in life. You have won every battle that has come your way. You're undefeated. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really powerful way to think about it. I also think that if you can't find the lesson right away, sometimes it shows up later. But like you said, it's the lesson of the persistence moving through that, or also the patience in that lesson showing up in some form, like further.
And the basis of persistence is willpower, right? So, and willpower is your ability to focus your thoughts on whatever you want to at any point in time. So what does it come back to? Thinking. What are you thinking about? But in those moments that feel like failure, that feel awful, where you see the big loss, the many zeros, or whatever it might be, it is your ability to unattach from that and focus on what you want, and find the positive, or go to look for the opportunity in that challenge. That that is your ability to get out of it, to persist through those perceived failures.
Right. Okay, one more quick question you can answer fast if you want. If we embrace the imperfection or the imperfect action, will that actually accelerate growth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It all comes down to effectively vibration, right? So everything that happens to us isn't good or bad. It just is. It's how you perceive it that makes it good or bad. And that is a challenging concept, because there's some things that seem like they're bad. And anything that goes against absolute truth, I suppose when I say things aren't good or bad, they're not good or bad. They're either true or they're untrue. And untrue things can be perceived as bad. But anyways, we're getting a little bit deep into this. But everything that happens is basically neutral. It is your ability to perceive it that will determine if it is a positive or a negative in your life. So if you look at it in a negative way and worry about it, or envious about it or any of these negative emotions, it is going to put you into a negative vibration, and you will repel good things and attract bad things.
Mhm.
I mean, it is like you wake up in the morning and stub your toe, and your days could be shot if you don't get control of your mood and your state,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if that thing that happens to you, if you say, oh, that's interesting, or say that's good, Jocko Willink, he says, no matter what happens to you, say that's good. I say, I mean, if you can't summon the courage to say that's good, at least just say that's interesting, and then try and find what's good. If you can find what's good in it, or just have that mindset of looking for what's good in it, you're going to be in a completely different vibration, a completely different state of mind, and you'll attract good things and repel bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. Life, the more good things you attract, the better your life is. The more bad things that you repel, the better life is. It is that simple.
So just that, I love that because it takes the pressure off of something being perfect or imperfect, right? It's just a positive or a negative. Like find the good, find the negative in it, whatever, and choose that thought and go that direction, because it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, that doesn't exist. That line is always changing as you're growing and evolving. So don't define that as being a thing. Like it shouldn't be a thing in your life. What is the situation that I'm in? Can I find a positive in it, pull that positive out and learn from it and grow, and move forward that way, so that we're not giving or putting expectations on ourselves that we need to have everything just so. We just need to take an action and pull a positive from.
Well, I actually think that perfect does exist. It just isn't attainable to us in this human life.
Yeah.
It is, which is awesome, because it gives us something to keep moving towards.
That's right.
If we were ever to attain it, that would be it, right?
Mhm.
And maybe that is exactly what happens at the end of our life, is we attain that perfection. I'm not, I don't know. I've never been there yet. There's part of it that just is absolutely fascinating that I can't wait to experience. I'm in no hurry. I'm trying to, I'm in no hurry. I'm enjoying life in the here and now. But there's part of that is, really fascinating. But I think the perfection does exist. We're supposed to pursue it. Thank God, I don't think that we can probably ever get there. Otherwise, life would be kind of meaningless. Where perfection paralyzes people is when they have the perception that it exists in what they're trying to create or they're trying to take to the market, right? And I think in this situation, in this context, that's probably the most valuable context we could look at it in, is somebody who has something that they want to do, they want to try, they're afraid to, because they aren't good enough yet, or what they're trying to deliver isn't good enough yet. It doesn't exist. There's a concept called MVP, minimum viable product. Get it out there. Get it out there, rely on feedback, reiterate it, learn, make it better, and do that. And no matter how good it is when you put it out there, you're always going to get feedback, or you sure as heck should be looking for feedback to always make it better, or else you will fall behind really fast. And the world has never been changing faster than it is now, and people will constantly have to change. Like, our parents grew up in a world where you could go and get a job and work in it for 30 or 40 or 50 years and just be comfortable, and that was it. Like that was the way that the world worked, because it was changing relatively slowly. That is no longer the case. You have to move fast and be willing to challenge the way that you think and change fast. And if you don't think that that's going to get even faster, it's hard to almost conceive, but it's going to just get faster and faster. And you better be open-minded and willing to think about it, and willing to fail and not be too worried about being perfect.
I love that. That's such a valuable conversation.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up. The big takeaway from today: you are perfect, but you'll never fully express it in this life. But remember that you are undefeated, which is pretty cool. So thanks for joining. We'll talk to you next time. Freedom by Design.
We appreciate you being part of Freedom by Design. If this conversation added value, help us spread the love. Take a second to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. The more intentional we become, the more freedom we create in our homes, our work, and our future. We'll see you next time. God bless.